Kinzinger of Illinois. He served in both Iraq and Afghanistan. Congressman, thanks for joining us. What can you tell us about this claim from ISIS on how they supposedly took down that Russian airliner with that can of soda, if you will? Does that sound credible to you?
Well, it's incredible. I mean, in a new era, people are understanding terrorists, especially how to make more powerful explosives, how to sneak them through security, and even if it's not necessarily through the production line of putting it in your bag and going through security, how can you throw a can of soda over the fence at the airport and have the guy driving the truck around come and take it to the guy who's going to plant it on the airplane? I mean, any of these are all possible. And again, I mean, you have to give terrorists credit. They're smart in an evil way. They're smart at figuring out how to get undetected, how to kill the most innocent people they can. And so it may very well be possible.
There's new video that ISIS has just released showing what they say is a suicide bomber with a vest in New York City getting ready to attack New York City. They show pictures of Manhattan, if you will. We're showing our viewers some still photos of that. They're clearly suggesting New York is their target. A couple days ago, they said Washington, D.C. was their target. Do you take these threats from ISIS seriously?
I do take them very seriously. We don't want the American people to live in fear. And where terrorism has its greatest power is, you look, even when a terrorist attack happens, as tragic as it is, a relatively small percentage of the population is actually touched. But the intention of terror is to multiply fear and to cause people to stay in their house, to not spend money, to see ISIS as more threatening than they are. But we do have to take it very seriously. And this is where giving the proper money and the resources and the technology to our first responders, to our police, to fire, to rescue is extremely important. Out here in Washington, D.C., for instance, we have the threat against here. But we have fantastic men and women of the Capitol Police Force that, keep us safe every day and are looking for telltale signs. I know New York City has the same. And frankly, every small to large city across America has got to be on the lookout for this. They
certainly are. They're raising their security levels even as we speak. All right, Congressman, we have more to discuss. Back with Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois. He served in both Iraq and Afghanistan. This new video, this very disturbing ISIS video, Congressman, making this threat to New York City. The video itself is new because it shows President Hollande of France making speeches in the aftermath of the Friday night strikes, even if they're using old footage, if you will, of New York City. But it is very disturbing. Have you been briefed on any credible new specific threats other than these propaganda videos that have been released by ISIS to New York, to Washington, D.C., or any other city in the United States?
Well, no, we haven't been briefed on any brand new, credible threat. Maybe the chairman of the Intel Committee has better information on that. But I will tell you this. We know there's a very real threat. We know that ISIS would love to reach out and strike the United States. And look, we're in a very different phase. There was many people that believe that in terms of the kind of reaching out, well, that was al-Qaeda. They had this intention of striking into the United States or striking into Europe. And they kind of saw ISIS as more focused on building this caliphate, which now is the size of the United Kingdom. For them to go to the level of bombing the Russian airliner, bombing the, in Lebanon, the suicide bombs, to do what was done in Paris, and now to threaten the United States, we have to take this very seriously. At some point, when ISIS makes threats and follow through if they have, we got to take the next threat seriously. And if that threat's against New York City or Washington, D.C., I guarantee you our law enforcement is on the tip of their toes looking for this kind of a problem.
You served as a fighter pilot in the U.S. Air Force. So you're still in the reserves. These airstrikes that have been going on intensified, Russian, French, against ISIS targets around Raqqa, their so-called capital in Syria. Is that air power enough to do the job?
It's not. Look, I'm an advocate for air power, obviously, and I think it's extremely important. My question about the French strikes in Raqqa, it was great that the French took out whatever it was, a handful of targets in Raqqa after the fight. The problem is, why were there still targets in Raqqa? We've been fighting ISIS right now for over a year. Why are there any hard targets left? They should all be eliminated. The fact is, we haven't employed air power enough. We don't have enough intelligence assets on the ground to develop what are fast-moving targets, a guy in a bongo truck. If you look at it from the air, you don't necessarily know, is that a family in the truck or is it ISIS fighters? If you have intel assets on the ground, you're able to identify that and strike them. That's what we need to plus up. We need to plus up our special operations in Iraq, in Syria, and keep cutting off the head of the snake until we destroy it like we did in the surge in Iraq.
Congressman Kinzinger, thanks very much for joining us.
You bet, Wolf. Take care.
Coming